IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I'm Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach. And as you know, we are all about learning amazing habits that can help you evolve and change and grow. And we have a fantastic guest with us today. We have Dr. Madhu Chopra to guide us and show how she has changed and worn so many different hats through her life. Dr. Chopra, welcome to the Habit Coach podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I'm sure it's going to be really exciting chatting with you because I believe you are one of the forerunners in bringing interesting content to your podcast. And you made it to 1,000, which means it must be really good and running.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having me here. It's a pleasure. I'm Dr.
Maya.
Madhu Chopra. And at present, I founded a cosmetology clinic in Bombay, Juhu, Bombay, called Studio Aesthetique, which is a very boutique and high-end, superb cosmetology clinic where we have the latest state-of-art technologies. I've been to many countries in the world to train into the latest and the best techniques, and we have brought it into India for that. And yes, like you said, I have worn many hats at different times of my life, but at present, this is my vocation, this is my passion. Although I'm not crazy about killing myself for it, and I don't at all insist on people availing of our services unless they definitely need it for many reasons, mental, physical, other needs. So temperamentally, I'm different, and our clinic is very different. But I'm happy to be here with you and talk about it.
I love it. I love it. Dr. Chopra, you started off completely differently, right? Like, it wasn't anything to do with cosmetology. You
Mhm,
started your career off as an ENT, if I'm correct.
mhm.
How did you decide to do that? What were you as a child? Were you like very studious? Were you curious? What were you as a child?
Yes, yeah, you hit the point there. I was very, very curious. I wanted to explore. I didn't want to, as soon as I achieved something or got something, I wanted to move to the next. I kept raising the bar for myself because I wasn't, even as a kid, I remember I wasn't competing with anybody. It was just me. I had to be the topmost. I had to be the best. I had to be the fastest. I had to know more. So, and that was a personality that my father inculcated and honed, dhire, 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 dhire. So I owe a lot to him for being who I am. He said there's no end to getting knowledge, and no knowledge goes to waste. If you have an opportunity to get knowledge about anything under the sun, get it. It will be of some use to you sometime in your life. So that thirst for knowledge is what drove me all these to do all these
Amazing.
things.
Can you share some stories on how he taught you these things? Like how did he guide you into becoming this competitive and curious person?
Yes, when I was like, I think preteen, I just asked him, "Okay, why do we have these lines in our hands?" So he said, find out. And he hired a coach who taught me palmistry, handwriting readings, signature reading, face reading, astronomy, astrology. It was a new world for me as a preteen.
Wow.
So I continued doing it till I was 14, 15, and I was qualified at 15 to be a astrologer.
Really, at
Heroes.
15, you were astrologer? Did you
Yeah,
know that you had cosmetology in your future?
no. And then I think when I was 8, I tried to take out his car to drive, and I didn't know, nobody taught me, and I banged it against the wall while taking it out. So he didn't yell at me, he didn't scream at me. He sent me to a garage where the car was being repaired. He told me, you have to learn to correct the mistakes that you made. And at the garage, I spent the entire day, and I was probably 9 or 10 that time. Yeah, 9. Entire day learning what was wrong, denting, painting, why this engine starts, how the transmission, all those little things which a 10-year-old didn't understand much, But at least I got to put my nose inside the bonnet, under the bonnet, and I knew what exactly was running. So these kind of little incidents, I was never dissuaded or I was never showed that तुमने गलत किया. Never. अगर आपने गलत किया तो I will tell you how to do the right thing. So these many small incidents. I wanted to learn flying. He said, ठीक है, but do it with your own pocket money. I said, okay. Yeah, I scrimped and scrounged. I took a bus to college. I didn't get my lunch. I would save on that. And I learned to fly. And
Really?
that was
You have a
again, yeah,
private pilot's license?
I have a PPL there.
Wow.
So, so that was my father. He got me to read Karl Marx. He got me to read Ayn Rand. He got me to read all the classics. I mean, that thirst, he just fed that fire. So that is the
Amazing.
basis, the foundation.
I think like a father like this sets you up and gives you, like you just said, the foundation for you to rocket ship
Yes,
your way out of the life
yes.
that we have.
Without
Amazing.
losing confidence. Remember that. Failure was an accepted thing. That's what he told me. If you fail, doesn't matter. It's what you do after you fail.
And was this something that you also wanted to like pass on? Like how did you teach this forward?
I think I've done the same with my kids, both
Hmm.
of them. I don't recall ever dissing them or insulting them or telling them they were wrong. I just felt that maybe I didn't teach them the right way.
Hmm.
So I would sit them down, we'll have a conversation, and I would tell them the right way, what I think is right. And then they had all the rights to tell me that my teacher told me differently, my friend told me differently, this is my view, my opinion. So there was a very clear uh, in and out of opinions and expressions. Never stopped them for anything. You want to do this, go ahead, do it. Like it, fine. Don't like it, never mind. You can always do something else.
I think there is a certain not taking life too seriously that I'm picking up from this. Like, take what you're doing seriously, but don't take life too seriously. Like,
Yes.
everything is, there's a purpose to it. Like enjoy it as it's going through.
There's so much available for us to enjoy. There's so much around us. Why close yourself in a box? Why close your mind?
And how do you get this curiosity of trying new things? Like we were saying in the beginning, and we'll come back to your journey, but like, where does that, that thirst for, wow, I want to try this now and this now and this now come from?
I think something that you hear somebody say, like there was a senior in our school who used to get all the awards and prizes for singing and dancing, sports. I was not academically very bright because I was distracted with so many various other things which I wanted to do. And getting high grades was not my goal at all. I just had to clear that class. Now go to the next one. Dekhi jayegi when I get to college, then I will do. So that was my attitude. I had to enjoy life also. So this, I saw that girl getting so many awards, and all those awards added up to her grades. So I told my parents I do want to do this because I'm not so great here. Sure. I learned dancing, I learned singing, I was participating in every sports available in school, in college. So I don't know where this came from, but I think I was, how would I call it? I wanted to be an achiever, whichever way it happened. Not the straight and the narrow, क्या पढ़ाई करे, exam अच्छा लिखे, top किए. There's so many other avenues of getting good grades. So you try that. Or at least be known that you're special.
Being known for
Something.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, known for something. So all these little things as a child, psychology. Now I've done psychology, so I understand my psyche later.
You've done
What,
psychology
what
also?
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
What drives you to this?
Hmm.
Why would a child be ambitious? Why should a child not be um, wanting to explore, spread the wings? A lot comes from the kind of support you've got, backing you've got. Like I say, the wind beneath your wings.
Hmm.
It's not necessary that the parents have to be just that. It could be your teacher, it could be your friends, people who push you. Go.
I've just also written a book for children on habits, and one of the
Oh, good.
habits in this is curiosity, just like we were talking about it right now. And the whole habit is to teach the child to say, "I wonder." You know, most of us squash the wondering question of the child, like, "I wonder how this works," and now go and find out about it. Right? Don't come and ask the father why, why,
Correct.
why. You tell
Bilkul
me.
right. Exactly.
Like, first start
Explore
wondering
for
and then go
yourself.
and find out and explore for yourself. Absolutely. So doctor, then you started, and you why did you get into ENT as a profession?
That was not by choice. I
Hmm.
wanted to be a surgeon, but I met my husband soon after I finished my joined my first job in a mission hospital when I was working in the surgery department. And very soon we got married. Very soon, as in less than a month later, we were married.
What? After meeting him for 1 month?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was really a quick
Hmm.
falling in love.
Hmm.
So, and he was in the army. He was a surgeon in the army. And two major subjects was not good in the army. You don't get posted together. And I didn't want to lose out on my family life. I didn't want to lose not being with my husband.
Hmm.
So when he was doing his post graduation, we decided I wanted to study too.
Hmm.
So I took up ENT because those days was considered a minor minor specialty.
Hmm.
And it was easy to get posted together, a major specialty and a minor specialty to be fit together.
Correct.
So we've lived together all our lives. We worked in
Hmm.
the same hospitals. We lived in the same house. We drove to school, college in the same car, like 24/7 in our faces. But we had yeah, it was a very good understanding. I would say one of the two has to step back.
Right.
But how far you want to step back is a decision that has to be mutual.
Hmm.
I never in my dreams thought that I would not work, I would not study, I would not, progress financially in every way. And he supported me in that. So little stepping back was that instead of being a surgeon and competing with him, I became an ENT surgeon and we had two separate specialties and two separate practices.
Like, what are the kinds of, so for example, this was in an army hospital, right? So
FMC Pune.
what was the mindset of an doctor in an army hospital? Like, did you have to rewire your brain for some aspects? Did you have new habits that you had to create?
Yes, it brought in, inculcated a lot of discipline in me, something which was lacking. I would say the commitment and discipline. But I can tell you that was the best part of my life, being in the army. It was amazing, the kind of welcome they give, being a spouse and an army doctor, the kind of treatment, how they, it was like joining a family, a huge family.
Hmm.
Even when Ashok was posted to the field area in Ladakh, I never felt alone. I had two little babies. Never felt alone. They were always there stepping in to support, to help. And of course, the work was like beyond belief. So much work. I loved being in the army. The only wiring that happened was I became a little more disciplined.
You
Like,
became more disciplined in the whole process.
yeah.
You raise an important point because, there's so many people, especially I've interviewed on the podcast, where they claimed that a large part of their success came from their parents being in the army. So they were army kids, and which is why this whole idea of discipline has come in, which is why, this is a structured way of approach, etc., has taken place. And as a result, I have now used that in my life as well. Is that something that you saw also happening between you and the kids?
Yeah. Yes, I would say that. I would say that,
Hmm.
definitely. And yes, my husband did come from an army family.
Hmm.
Almost most of them have been in the army, either directly or indirectly dealing with the army. And I joined only for the sake of convenience, not because that was my aim.
Hmm.
But my husband did promise me that we will step out and have our own practice. Just let's bide this time together.
Let's bide this
That's
time
what we
together.
did. Yeah.
And these kinds of, so your husband was always disciplined, probably, then, also coming
Yeah,
from
he
army
was.
background and all of those things.
Yes.
Amazing.
7 p.m. means to the dot, his car would enter 7 p.m. And I
Wow.
think Priyanka got that from him.
Mm.
She was absolutely very disciplined.
She's also like super punctual, on time, on
Yeah,
focus.
yeah.
So I think this is important to see how, like how your father had an influence on you, and the way that your parent, you as a parent, is also having an
Yes,
influence
I
on
mean, that's the
Priyanka
cycle
as
of
it goes
life.
along. Right.
That's exactly, you are the outcome of your parents' hard work.
Mm.
After that, you have put in the embellishments. But every individual is primarily the outcome of the parents' work. Parents have been good, the kids turn out good. And a good child will never go astray, a good parenting will never go wrong.
Mm.
So I think there's a lot of responsibility I attribute to parents. They can't say that I'm a working person, so my baby is with a nanny or she's going to a play school, take care. It's your responsibility eventually.
It has to come from that spot. Um, so then, what was the next big life milestone that happened for you that you can think? So you're in the army, ENT. What is the next big um, milestone?
The biggest change that happened was when Priyanka won the pageant. She
Mm.
became Miss India and she had to go for the Miss World competition. My husband's family was not too happy about it because she was very good in her studies and they didn't want me disturbing her. And she was in 12th, she was to give her 12th board. That's a very critical time.
Right.
But she had just returned from Boston, and education in America for a high school is very different from high school education in India. So she needed to take a gap year to catch up with the Indian students who were far ahead in the science subjects which she wanted to take. So we decided to give her a gap year. And in that gap year, this opportunity happened, and she became Miss India and had to move to Bombay to prep for the Miss World. That's when my family put the condition that she will only go if one of the parent is with her at all times.
Hmm.
So we sat down and had a discussion, and we had a very big practice at that time. My husband said, I'll
This
take
was a
care of
private
your practice.
practice.
Yeah, private
Hmm.
practice.
Hmm.
So he said, don't worry, I'll take care of your practice. We'll hire Tokum. And for a daughter, it's much better to have a mom around because I wouldn't know half the things what to do. He was a very conservative father. Not conservative in a bad way, but typical Punjabi father.
Correct.
Anyway, so it was decided that I would go. So I just dropped my practice overnight and went with her to Bombay. So that was a life-changing decision for me.
Amazing.
I found it so easy to give up my hard work, my life's ambition to further my daughter's ambition. When we were talking, we thought that, our life, our career is behind us, and our daughter is staring at the future. So we should support her. Good comes out of it, good. Bad comes out of it. She can always come back home. You can always come back home and start where you left. Nothing's going away. So that gave me the confidence, and it gave her a fearlessness. It won't have nothing will happen if I go wrong. So she became like more daring, I would say.
It was interesting. So you had a plan B safety net if there was
Yes,
something that was not
yeah,
going according to
always. I
plan.
tell this to every child, every youngster, every man, woman I meet or counsel. I say this. You make a choice, make a decision, but always have a backup plan,
Hmm.
a plan B to fall back on. Something that is more stable, maybe not triple A, maybe not get you riches immediately, but you should have a safety net. Then you feel free to run,
Yeah.
feel free to catch speed, and take a big leap.
Otherwise, you're constantly worrying, and you take, one of the things that I realize is that you take poor decisions out of fear. It's that
Mm,
fear that makes you take bad decisions in the process. But if you have that
mm,
safety net, you know that you're not necessarily dealing with that fear. So you don't make those
yeah.
poor decisions.
The bad decisions are mainly error in judgment.
Hmm.
Nobody wants to take a bad decision. You see, everybody thinks I'm doing the best for me, for my family, for whoever. Whatever decision you make, I don't feel anybody makes a bad decision. It's just an error of judgment, but you should be able to correct it. You should be able to reverse it. So your judgment should be such that you have an unbiased stepping ahead kind, not because, okay, my friend told me I must invest 5 lakh here, so I must do it.
Gonna do it.
That I'm against that. That
Hmm.
is a wrong decision. You
And
have to ponder over it and then make a choice. And then you go wrong, doesn't matter.
you know,
You did your
doc-
best.
doctor, there are two aspects to this. One is that how you changed your life, quit, came to Bombay with Priyanka. But the second also is the question that, like, how did Priyanka come up with this thought of wanting to be part of this? Because it's not necessarily something that is a common path that people take, right? Like, there must have been some mindset shift there as well in order to,
No,
why don't
no.
you go down
She
this
was a
path in the
very
early years?
studious. She was
Yeah.
a very studious girl. This was nowhere in her thought. It was my son who one night brought in a magazine, Femina magazine, and said, "Mom, is Didi pretty?" I said, "Yes." "Is she 17?" "Yes." "She 5'8"? "Yes." "So why don't you send this for her?" बाद में पता चला he wanted her out of the room because when she moved in from US, we gave her his room and he was moved to a little annexe, a smaller room, and he hated that. Anyway, so that was his motive, but it worked out well. And just to shut him up, I filled out some paper somewhere and we sent it. He went and posted it the next morning while going to school.
He was very motivated.
Yeah, he had a valid reason. And he was only 10 years old. So for a 10-year-old to very devious mind, he wanted to get Didi out of the place.
Devious mind and all rock stars only in your family, huh? It's like total.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so that then the rest is history. 2 months later, we got a phone call that you've been shortlisted for selection in Delhi. So please come. And she went. We were all चलते मजे करते हैं जाके, let's see what happens. Although dad was very apprehensive, he said, you're planting ideas in a child's head. I said, this is an opportunity not everybody gets. Let it try it. Doesn't happen, fine. We're just going to have fun. And
So
that's the
so it was
mindset that we went
interesting,
with.
right? Like it was this, and then there was one rocket ship moment that happened. I'm guessing after she won, right? Like, what was that like? Because that would have completely again shifted the entire dynamic. Because
Completely. She was like a babe in the woods. She was the youngest contestant. She'd never worn heels, never worn a sari, and no makeup. Although, of course, she used to sneak and put on some little makeup, but all that. But I can tell you, Femina Times of India really trained her well, and she felt confident to be in the contest. So we as a parent, we were sitting holding hands, fingers crossed. कितनी अच्छी अच्छी लड़कियों के बीच में ये बच्चा क्या करेगा? We were very apprehensive. But she was confident, well read, and because she was intelligent and well read, she managed to ace it with her confidence on stage. It didn't matter to her that she fell short wherever needed, but the way she carried herself, the way she spoke, that is what took her the extra mile.
amazing, the
And I
confidence
think
that
that
came from.
confidence came from the fact that don't be afraid. Your parents are behind you. You can always come back home and start studies. There's no pressure. So that is what gives confidence to any child.
Hmm, amazing. And once this happened, right? Like once she won, what happened after that? Like what was the trajectory after that? And how did you have to change
After,
your life for this?
yeah, then I had to keep my promise that I would be with the girl wherever she goes. So after she returned from London with the Miss World crown, the first event that she did was have a huge press conference in Delhi, the entire world press. And Mr. Dilip, the editor in chief, he was chairing the press conference. And it was amazing how she stood her ground and answered such difficult questions. Nothing was prepped, she was not given a list of questions, nothing. But what she couldn't answer, she would gracefully ask Mr. Dilip to please help me out, for Dilip Dev to help me out here. her conduct was amazing. So Dad and I was watching from the back, and we said, we cannot stop this girl. She's meant for bigger things, better things. She does not have to go to a regular graduation course or become a doctor or an engineer. She's meant for something bigger. I thought it was amazing. I'm still, when I recall all that, I feel so gratified and good that we have such a wonderful child. Very gratifying. Anyway, thereafter, we came to Bombay because she had to do her Miss World duties, travel the world. So Bombay आई, and the obvious next course is film वाले आने लगे scripts लेके offers लेकर, but she was completely against films. Said नहीं, film तो मुझे करना नहीं है. I want to study. So we said again the same story. Such opportunities don't come by every day. You've taken a gap year. Give it a shot for 2 months. Do one film. If you don't like it, it's not for you. चले जाना वापस. You can always go back and study. They are not going to take you away. So that's what she did. You won't believe it. The first contract that she signed had big blotches of teardrops on it. I'm only doing it because you're telling me to. I don't. But when she went in front of the camera, it shifted. She loved it. And then she decided this is what I want to do.
It's amazing. One gap year made all this happen.
All
And
this
and I
difference.
found it really funny that after all this change, she still wanted to go back and say, in a gap year ho gaya, to I have to go back now and
Yeah.
study.
So that was her comfort zone, her plan B,
Yeah.
her safety net.
Hmm.
The parents are supporting me. Nothing will go wrong. They're supporting me in every which way, financially, uh, and emotionally, mentally, physically. So that was her strength.
Amazing. And I think, for you and your husband at that point of time to say that, we see something here that is unique, right? I think that is a big testament to both you and his mindset in the way that
Totally,
this
totally.
progressed, right? Then you also had to travel the world with her everywhere as part of the
I
contract.
did. I didn't leave her side
Hmm.
till some probably 5, 6 years ago when my husband fell ill. I couldn't keep up with her. Then by that time she was confident and she knew her ground and she was good.
She didn't say, "Bus, mummy, now I want to do this myself," and like all kids go through that phase on like,
Yeah, but that is another amazing thing. She's one of those few kids in the
hmm,
film industry who did not mind having a parent around. The girls don't want their parents to be hanging around them. They feel that you don't trust me or you don't think I'm capable, that's why you're hanging around me. But Priyanka always took pleasure in that. She enjoyed me and she always focused, made me feel like I was a very important member of her team. But, so, it was like a give and take. I gave a part of my life to her and she gave me all the respect, and everybody. The way she treated me was the way everyone else treated me. So she put me on a pedestal. Nobody could, shake that place. It was wonderful hanging out with her. I never thought I was wasting my time or I was not needed. I'm just hanging out with her.
in fact, that was my next question. You read my mind because I from being a doctor, which is like on call almost 24/7, to coming to this industry where I know a large part of your time is spent waiting, right? वो shot ठीक नहीं है, this is not there, you've come out, you have those crazy 17-hour schedules, 20-hour schedules, right? Um, did you not like wonder like, matlab, why am I just waiting? Is there something that I'm not doing? Because those are the kinds of questions that normally come up in our minds. Am I like just wasting time? Where is my purpose? What am I doing?
No, like I said, no knowledge is a waste. I took it as I'm learning the process of making films. I would sit with the director, the producers, the cameramen, choreographers, and discuss about their work. So I was also assimilating information, knowledge, which later came of use when we set up a production house. So, like I told you, any kind of knowledge never goes to waste. So I took it like that. I was never, or I would read a book. Never felt I was bored. I was sitting right there on the set. And then Priyanka also, if she's frustrated, she needs to talk to somebody. It's better she speak to me,
Right.
vent it out on me, and not on anyone else. So she could maintain the appearance of a disciplined, even-tempered person at work because she had me, her
Hmm.
punching bag.
I think showcasing grace is something that is absolutely beautiful, right? Grace is the thing where
Absolutely.
there's that dignity, there is effortlessness in the way that you're approaching things. And maybe you could have also become a stunt pilot now that you had your PPP and all
No,
of
no.
that.
It's just making life easy for yourself and
Hmm.
people around you. You don't have to keep battling. Every day is not a battle.
Can you describe this a little further when you said that life is not a battle? This is something that
Yeah.
I see people constantly saying that, life is a struggle,
Yes.
life is like
Yeah.
this.
So because they don't have a plan B is how I see that.
Hmm.
You have made a decision and you're stubborn about it. If it's not happening comfortably, maybe it's not meant to happen. Just change your direction. Life is easier for you, and I'm sure you'll do much better if you're at mental peace and you're excited, enthusiastic about doing something instead of battling, ki, it's not working, it's not happening, this person didn't sign my tender, this person didn't do that. Then you start blaming others for your error in judgment, your wrong
Mhm.
decision, your stubbornness.
Right.
Some people do that because they're always being, as growing up, they must have been told, you're a failure, do better, you have to do better, you have to do better, you're a failure, you're a failure, you're a failure. So that sinks in their head. If things don't work out, they believe they're failures and they can't accept that.
Hmm.
Failure is part of your life. It's okay to fail. But what you do after you fail is what makes you a man, what makes you a successful person.
And with your kids, how did you teach them failure like this? Like, because I know so many people who find it difficult to teach their children failure as something good. How did you teach that to your children?
Sit them down, let them cry it out, let them feel sorry for themselves, let them beat their chests, and then try and understand why it happened. Why did you fail here? And I'd let them talk. Why do you think it didn't work? You did your best. Why do you think it didn't work? Then they start putting pieces together. And it's okay, we can try again. Or if that's not an option, then do something else. Forget it. So you never made them feel small for having failed.
Hmm.
That is very important. And especially growing children, it's so important to nurture them emotionally, psychologically, that they you eventually want your children to become strong young people out in the world. It's not a safe world. It's infested with wolves and bad events. If you don't make your child mentally, emotionally strong, they'll not be able to face it.
Yeah. You can't keep babying them, fighting their
You
battles for
can't.
them.
Home is where they should find their soft spot, their safe spot, their own people.
And then
And
after
in return,
traveling
they will
around,
make the same kind of a home, which will be a safe spot for their children, their wives, their family.
I love this idea of a safe space because this is something that many people don't get, right? A
Very
safe
important.
space is a funda. Yeah.
They hate coming back home because they'll have somebody sitting and say, "तुमने आज कुछ नहीं किया," you know, the wives
I've,
or the mothers or the fathers.
yeah. Somebody wrote in the other day saying that I hate going home. I just keep driving around, the city and try
It's a
and,
sad thing.
yeah, home is supposed to be a safe haven almost.
Absolutely. Absolutely. May not be a haven, but it should be somewhere should be able to feel free.
Hmm.
You're angry. Home is where you should be able to vent it. Like in my house, everybody. If you're upset, if you're angry, vent it out. I'm there, your punching bag. I know you love me unconditionally. It's not, you're not venting out of disrespect or because you hate me. You're venting because something is bothering you and you
Right.
need to bring it out. That toxic thing has to come out. Where will they take it? If they internalize it, then they're becoming toxic people. So somebody who is understanding or mature enough should be their punching bag at home. Everybody, whoever is living in your home, your nucleus, your world, you know they love you. They're not doing it, even if they use bad words, they're not disrespecting you. There has to be a reason behind it. Sit them down, calm them down, feed them, and then let them talk. So that has been the way I have lived. My children feel free, my husband felt free to talk what they wanted, how they wanted.
Do you have someone to vent to now? Do you vent at
We
all, or
do mutually. I went
Hmm,
to my daughter, my children, they understand, they hear, they
hmm,
listen to me, and they help me out. It's a mutual thing.
beautiful,
We
lovely
don't fight
relationship
over it.
that way?
Tell me
So,
about yourself. Can I ask you about you?
of course, go for it.
You've interviewed so many people. I'm sure you're assimilating a lot of things from a lot of people. So, what does it become? A khichdi in your head, or do you filter out stuff and imbibe for yourself, for your family? What do you do?
So, my entire funda is how do I learn, how do I do, and how do I teach? So, this is the way that I structure all information coming in. So, last year I finished reading 110 books. So, apart from all the people I'm interviewing, I'm constantly consuming information because I love getting it in.
Good.
So what I do is whenever I read something or find something interesting, I immediately try and implement it in my life. So is there a change that I can make? Is there how can I
So, do you
use
read
it?
like DIY books, other people's opinions, or do you have your own opinion?
No. So the way that I look at it is I read tons of self help, and I have one fiction book like a story book or something fun on the side. So I don't like serious topics. So it's like a fantasy comedy kind of thing that would be going on just for relief.
Do you
And
give yourself an option for dissent? Like, do you always agree to the opinions of the books that you read, or do you give yourself option of dissent also? No, I
ah
don't agree.
um I see what the other person's point of view is. Sometimes I might not necessarily, you know, agree to it, but everyone has a point of view. And if you can see things from another person's perspective, I think it makes life so much easier to live through. So it is
Mhm.
not that just say yes to everything. Have your own opinions. You must have your own opinions, but you have to have opinions after you've done something to have an opinion for. You know, like right now we see on Instagram and all these places, everyone has an opinion about something, but have they put in
Oh,
the
yeah.
effort to do it? नहीं. तो मतलब वो कहाँ से आता है? Like you must be no stranger to negative feedback, right? Like
Correct,
the
correct.
amount of trolls that are there. I remember in one of your interviews also you were talking about trolls to people, and
It doesn't matter at all.
it doesn't matter because those people have
Like
not walked in your shoes.
like Priyanka's famous words, haters will hate, rotis will rotate, potatoes will potate.
I
Who cares?
love it.
That's one
Potatoes
of
or
her very
potato.
famous statements.
So that's the way. So if I have not done something, I will not disagree. I will say,
Right.
interesting perspective. Let me try. And then I can disagree or agree with somebody's perspective. So that is the way that I normally think about.
Good, good. Okay.
Because, otherwise what happens, Dr. Chopra, is that we come from this place of judgment, right? And our ego comes in the way. I know better than you.
Mm.
Now, if I have not walked in your shoes, how do I know better than you? So I think it's that sort of ego dissolution also that has to happen in the process.
So much, so important. Disillusion breaks you faster than anything else.
You know? Otherwise we just keep building ourselves up, and there are enough people to build us up. But breaking us down is actually where the growth comes from.
True, true.
So yes, that is my perspective on things.
It depends on what you do after. It
Yes.
all boils down to that.
And in fact, the Habit Coach podcast was born like I have no education in radio or acting or anything like this. All of this was a passion project. It was something that, how can I give back? If I'm learning so much, is there something that I can? I wish I knew these things when I was passing through, 25, 30 years old. And that's basically where it all started from.
No, you're 2025 to make the mistakes
Yes.
and learn from them. It's okay.
It's okay. I love that. Make the mistakes. The thing that I've taken from this podcast is the joie de vivre that you have. It's like, why are you taking life so seriously? Do everything. Right? You have this one life,
Absolutely.
enjoy it. And I love this
Absolutely.
vibe that you have.
This too shall pass. Your good
Best.
times, bad times, just have an even temperament. Don't let horns grow when you're having it good, and don't come and jump off a cliff when you're having it bad.
We
This too
very
shall
rarely
pass.
think about how time, we say time heals, and but actually there is so much process that takes place,
Mhm.
and things always sort themselves out in the end. I've noticed that. So
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
something that.
Mhm.
Hmm. So, Dr. Chopra, what is it that you're looking forward to now in the future? What is this new big change? You just mentioned this production company that is there now. How are you going to get
Yeah.
into production from uh, cosmetology and all the stuff that you're doing there?
So when Priyanka was transiting to the United States to follow her music career, it was a huge jump and a big decision. And she was on the peak of her career, and many people advised her this is not the right time to do it. So we just again like we sit and have a discussion. We discussed, and I said, okay, you should have some relevance in the country because out of sight, out of mind, people forget. So let's make the next step up would be to have your own production because you're still acting. You can't direct now. She could write, so she wrote her book, and you can have a production house. So we had Purple Pebble Pictures.
Hmm.
But उसमें भी था कि we should do something that everybody doesn't do, but nobody's done before. We had a discussion. We had a good team, so we decided to give a mainstream platform to regional films because now with closed captions, open streaming, OTT platform, everybody is watching everything. You have access to everything. But these regional films, they're beautiful. So that particular region, people enjoy it, but the rest of the country can't enjoy it. So that's how we started making regional films and giving them a mainstream platform and all India release, sometimes even Bahar. We made some 9 films. One one of our films won the national award. One of it critically acclaimed, went to most of the uh, cans and festivals, big festivals. So it was very gratifying, very satisfying, and it gave a push to Priyanka, confidence. Now she has Purple Pebble Pictures in America. She's a producer, she's an entrepreneur, she's an author, she's an actor, she's a singer. You see?
Amazing. It's just like an accumulation. In fact, I wanted to, while you were talking, I was thinking about this. There's a friend of mine who's Japanese. And on all her international flights, she watches Tamil movies or Telugu movies. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, it's amazing how now the way that we think about movies have changed, right?
Absolutely.
We would have never
I
thought that.
watch
Yeah, exactly. And
South
the
Indian
storylines are
films
so
so
different.
beautiful, Turkish films so beautiful.
Yeah,
So
it
the
has
world
changed the
has
way we
opened up.
approach. Yeah.
Yeah. So now is such a good time for youngsters.
Hmm.
There's no dearth of work in the entertainment industry. There's no, I mean, the world is your oyster now. If you're
I wanted
talented, if
to
you're capable.
I wanted to ask you one last question on this, which is on beauty. Okay. Now, you are working in a beauty space, right? Your daughter won, Miss Universe, Miss World, Miss Universe, sorry, I forget,
Miss World.
Miss World, right? Which is all about, beauty, brains, all these aspects of it. Has your definition of beauty changed through, the
Yes,
whole
earlier
process?
beauty was limited to a select few
Hmm.
people who could afford it, people who understood the need for beauty, which was a very elite class. But now the way people are exposed, the definition of beauty has changed. Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, not anymore. I need to look good to look confident. I cannot change your appearance, but I can do much, much more to make you a better version of yourself, to add to your other assets. When you take your step forward, when you come into a room, when you walk into a room, I want you to feel good about yourself. And what you project is what the other one perceives. So the meaning of beauty has changed now. Now I think everybody should take care of their skin, their hair, their bodies, and not call it beauty. I would call it wellness. I would call it mindfulness. I would call it looking good. Beauty is now, it's a very small word. What I'm doing, what I'm talking about is another world altogether.
It's far
And
bigger.
today you're you're living in a high pressure world, so much pollution, so much against you. Your skin is battling, your hair is battling every day. So you need to nurture it, you need to take care of it to last you. Your longevity has increased. Now uh, the life expectancy has gone up. People live longer. They want to look better. They want to be functional. You don't want to retire at 60 and die.
140 is what we're aiming for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why not? I think beauty has become a necessity. Beauty in your understanding, but for me, it's wellness.
Wellness.
Wellness is a necessity today,
I would
and
say,
wellness
from what
includes
you're
everything.
saying, wellness is the thing and beauty is a byproduct of the wellness. Is that the
Byproduct
right
of
way?
beauty.
Okay.
Beauty is one of it.
One of the.
One of it.
So, doctor, this is thing that we always notice, especially amongst movie stars, you know, that when they enter a room, the vibe of the room changes. Right? There is a certain charisma, there's a certain energy that suddenly comes into the room. Where does that come from?
Well, most of the movie stars are basically good looking, or they have a charisma that gives them the screen presence, which the director or the writer or the producer recognizes and brings her to the forefront, brings him to the forefront. Someone who has no looks but is a huge actor today. I want to take names. It's not looks, everything doesn't matter. It's the look in your eyes, the way you conduct yourself, the way you speak. So many things put together give them that charisma that when they can move molecules in a room when they walk in.
Yeah, just like the vibe changes of a room,
Yeah.
right?
It's hard work. They put so much work into themselves. And
Can you
success
like?
means when the world recognizes your hard work. That's your success.
I love that. Success is when the world recognizes that the hard work that you put inside it.
Yeah, yeah.
When Priyanka started her journey, right, when she was her first competition to where she is now, right, do you see a difference in the way that that presence changes, and what do you suspect that she's done through that journey?
I think she fought a lot of battles. I'm using the word battle too often because nobody's life is hunky dory, nobody's life is smooth sailing. There are ups and downs. So she's had her fair share of hard times, difficult times. She overcame them, dusted herself, and took long strides thereafter, improved herself, corrected herself, and took larger strides. But everything was based on very hard principles. She did not divert or change her track as far as principles were concerned. This is something I will not do. This is something I don't like. This is something I won't let anybody do to me. You see, when you have a set principles, you have your blueprint, you have your roadmap. This is something I won't do. It's easy then. But if you are like jelly, हम इधर भी चले गए वो भी कर लिए चल कोई बात नहीं देखी जाएगी never. So I see all these things that she gave herself to overcome her difficult times. Her strides are longer, her voice is heard far and wide. She has done so well for herself. I'm so proud of her.
It's from the difficult times the confidence comes, right? I survived this, I know I can do
That's
this,
what
I
I'm
can
saying.
thrive in
How
this.
what you do after your failure,
Yes.
but you have to have a blueprint in your head. I will not compromise my principles, and then the other person respects you for it, and that matters a lot.
We often think that we lose the other person, but actually the respect in the other person
Yeah.
increases.
My favorite saying is अपने को चवन्नी समझो अपने को रुपया समझो. If you treat yourself, your perception of yourself is like a chavanni, cheap, then people will perceive you as that.
Correct.
Think yourself as something large, big, great. Automatically, people will see you that. Of course, you have to back it up.
Amazing. Dr. Chopra, thank you so much for coming on the Coach
Good
podcast. We
talking to
had
you. Yeah.
such an interesting conversation on so many varied topics.
I hope it benefits people. I love having these kind of conversations because I feel that so many people can't reach out directly, but through your platform, maybe they hear something that resonates with them, which would help them. And which is why I feel it's so important to have someone like you bringing people together to put those kind of confidence building word out there.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was
Good.
absolutely an honor. And I knew that we were going to have a fantastic conversation from the way that I was looking at,
Good.
all the stuff that you've done. This is the first time we are speaking, but I think
Yeah.
it was just absolutely brilliant. And I know everybody listening right now has enjoyed themselves. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you very much.
If you like this episode, don't forget to hit subscribe. Also, give us a rating. It really helps with people discovering the podcast. If you like podcasts like this, check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can also watch all the episodes on the Habit Coach Awesome 180 YouTube channel. Follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere. You can also reach out to me. I am Ashdin Doc at Twitter and Instagram. You can connect with me on my website, awesome180.com. You can also check out my 2 new books, Change Your Habits, Change Your Life, and the second, The Book of Good Habits for Kids. I am Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach.
IVM.